The tiger is magnificent and all-consuming. It is the absolute symbol of wilderness, and there's something quite magical and mystical about the tiger.
Nobody needs a tiger part. Nobody needs a tiger skin. Nobody needs to consume tiger bone. And it's high time that the demand were totally eliminated so that we can actually give these species a fighting chance against all of the other threats that they're facing.
Asia's big cats, that's tigers, leopards, snow leopards and clouded leopards, continue to be a significant threat as a result of the poaching and trafficking of their body parts for myriad purposes. There are as few as 4,500 wild tigers left. That's an approximate 95% decline in their population since the turn of the 20th century. Meanwhile, Asia's leopards have disappeared from 85% of their range and are one of the most heavily traded of Asia's big cats. Tigers and other Asian big cats are killed for their skins, which are used as luxury home decor or accessories like wallets and slippers or even clothing. And the use of skins as home decor is very much a status symbol, a sign of power and wealth. We also see tiger and other big cat bones being used to make ornaments and trinkets like bracelets or good luck charms made using the bones of a tiger's tail. Teeth and claws of tigers and other Asian big cats are in huge demand. Tiger meat is also taken as a delicacy in some parts of Southeast Asia and China. And we've seen a surge in the trade in dead tiger cubs that's seen as quite a prestigious wine to consume.
The first kind of commercial captive breeding enterprises were launched in the late 80s in China. Since the late 80s, the numbers of these facilities and the number of tigers held in them have ballooned. There are now up to 8,000 captive tigers in facilities in East and Southeast Asia. They were set up to produce tiger bones to be used in traditional medicine.
To make bone wine and bone glue that's often used to treat rheumatism and arthritis, while tiger bone wine is consumed in some parts of Southeast Asia as a male virility product.
It is generally illegal in China now, although there has been some ambiguity as to whether the bones of captive bred tigers can be used in the production of tiger bone wine and medicines. Leopard bone is still used legally in China in the production of mass-market Chinese medicines.
And despite a decision in 2007 that tigers should not be bred for trade, including domestic trade, in their body parts, we've actually seen tiger farming increase in Thailand, Laos, Vietnam and China, and now even spreading to South Africa. At a personal level, just really encouraging that when China asked for CITES decision 1469, which is a decision that says tigers should not be farmed, when they asked for it to be deleted, there was no support in the room for them. You know, you always hold your breath at moments like that, but that was a really critical message going forward from this meeting. It can be heartbreaking just to get a sense of the scale of the trade in tigers and other Asian big cats that's going on, that we see through our investigations. particularly online trade. We see almost on a weekly basis videos of captive bred tigers being butchered, their bones being boiled down into tiger bone glue.
CITES, as a legally binding convention, mostly deals with the international movement of CITES-listed species. So ever since 1975, the international commercial trade in tigers has been largely banned. Siberian tigers were actually added into Appendix 1 in the 80s. And other Asian big cats have also been on Appendix 1 since the inception of the convention, meaning international commercial trade is banned. The extent to which CITES has a say on what countries do domestically has been a controversial topic.
Domestic trade, for example, in the skins of captive bred tigers in China, is still licensed. There we see that the tiger population is struggling to recover. There are less than 50 wild tigers in China, but over 6,000 in captivity.
There are some cases where countries will challenge the authority of CITES to be able to influence their actions within their country, that they have a sovereign right to, for example, trade certain species, and that CITES cannot intervene with that.
CITES has teeth when it comes to non-compliance or non-implementation of the treaty. Where it becomes more difficult is where resolutions and decisions are not being implemented. Resolutions and decisions reflect the will of the parties, but it's harder to hold governments to account for not implementing those resolutions and decisions.
The resolution that relates to tigers and other Asian big cats has a recommendation that CITES parties should close their domestic markets for Asian big cat products if that market has a role in driving poaching or illegal trade. And many would say that for example, China's current legal domestic market in leopard bone is playing that role in both kind of legitimizing the use and also ensuring that this market for a product which has no clear legal source is continuing to operate in the country.
CITES determines the species that can or cannot be traded. Then the countries must apply legislation, which is then enacted by enforcement agencies. So the key thing is what kind of enforcement is necessary for countries to address wildlife trafficking.
China has actually demonstrated that they have the capacity and the willingness to conduct some rather sophisticated investigations into the illegal trade of tigers, other Asian big cats and other wildlife. And they have done some very comprehensive long-term investigations, which is really encouraging.
To totally eliminate use of something like tiger bone in traditional Chinese medicine requires the real buy-in from a whole host of stakeholders, particularly the governments of countries where there is demand for that product. Without domestic measures such as a clear, unambiguous domestic ban and demand reduction campaigns, enforcement against to properly back up those domestic bans, the international trade ban is almost half-formed.
A number of really key countries involved in this trade have still yet to develop effective legislation, to effectively develop teams that can investigate wildlife crime. Criminal justice responses are still really low, and almost no country in the world prioritizes environmental crime, including wildlife crime, as seriously as it should do.
It makes it all the more frustrating that the problem in China is that there continues to be these parallel legal trades and markets in the skins of captive bred tigers and in the bones of leopards used to make pills and wine. So China's undermining its own enforcement record with legislation that is perpetuating the desirability and the trade in tigers and other Asian big cats.
We're advocating for the parties of CITES to use a set of indicators which can effectively assess their response to wildlife crime. It looks across the breadth of enforcement, investigation, criminal justice, penalties, and that will then help us to measure the response by parties and, if necessary, hold them accountable.
In this year of the tiger in the Chinese zodiac, what we really need to see is strong leadership from China, the primary consumer of tiger and other Asian big cat parts and products. New legislation or new orders to commit to a zero demand and zero use. The trouble is, it's not clear if China is that committed to ending all trade in all tiger and other Asian big cat parts and products.
It's a testament to a failure to do one of the most fundamental things to save the species, which is to stamp out the demand for its body parts.
We're asking the parties to set aside time on the agenda for Asian big cats and to come up with time-bound country-specific measures to hold governments accountable.
These are iconic species that everybody knows, and if you can't save a species like a tiger, what does it say to our ability to save the million species around the world that are threatened with extinction?